It's now time for Matt and Dan in the house of Hello everyone and welcome to episode 2 of Matt and Dan in the house of...
Wow!
Exactly.
Welcome everyone. It's episode 2.
Number 2. So again, welcome everyone to Man Down the House of Quark. So I said we are still quite new to all this podcasting stuff, but we learned so much from the first one. We decided to branch out even further from Facebook. So obviously you can still see, as the banner says clearly here, you can still watch our episodes on Facebook at our page. So that's M&D HQ. At M&D HQ is how you find us to watch our web episodes. You can also listen as well on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Anchor, Radio Public, and Breaker. So we really have branched out in all sorts of different platforms across the
diversifying.
So this time as well, I was just saying when we not only obviously that you can see us, obviously some people just want to listen to us obviously with their headphones or whatnot. So we're going to try and make it clear when we are talking about things that those of you who are listening know what we're talking about. Because we found that in the first episode, we were talking about things, and what are they talking about? You know, I can't see nothing, but obviously you can only see with the web episodes. But obviously we are going to make it clear what we're talking about, verbally as well as visually. Isn't that right?
Absolutely, yes. Well put, Matt.
Exactly, yeah. Right. So first, before we start, though, we get straight into it. Over to Dan. Dan has something special to share with us today.
Yeah. Well, first of all, thank you everybody who tuned in for episode 1 and who's liked the page and listened to it so far. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned. I have something from my sister, who you may remember I mentioned in episode 1, who got me into Star Trek. And during the week, I sent her the first episode, and she really liked it, which is good. Well done, Emma. So she messaged me some really lovely words, which I think really sums up Star Trek and would probably ring true for a lot of Star Trek fans. So I wrote it down, and I will take it away if that's okay with you, Matt.
Over to you, Dan. Over to you.
Yeah. So she says, I think you're right. Star Trek is comforting. It gave me a place to escape to, a place where it didn't matter who I was or what my skills were. I'm welcomed and valued because in Star Trek, they value individuality and outsiders. And I've always been an outsider. And I think that really sums up Star Trek. Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. What do you think?
I think it's brilliant, and as she said, it is full of outsiders. But again, like what you said, has that sort of family value.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I think that's a fantastic quote. If anyone else wants to share anything with us as well, have any shout outs, please message myself or Dan, or obviously on our Facebook group, M&D HQ. That'd be great, and we can share that obviously on our podcast. That'd be fantastic. But 10 out of 10 for Dan's sister. Fantastic, really.
Yeah, I think it just perfectly sums up Star Trek, really, and sci-fi in general, but absolutely, definitely Star Trek. So I think a lot of fans would echo the words that my sister has said.
Yeah, no, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. I 100% agree with it. Definitely. Right, so shall we get this ball rolling?
Let's get into episode 2.
Here we go. Matt and Dan, a Trekkies podcast. So, episode 2, today we are talking about, there's Data again. Hello, Data.
Hello, Mr. Data.
So this is how we're going to go through all the Star Trek series in chronological order. So that is in order according to the timeline. Today, of course, there's quite a lot to talk about, as you can imagine. So we are going to try and break it up into separate parts. We're not going to talk about it into such great detail, because obviously we will do separate episodes on certain series in the coming weeks, obviously. But for now, we're just going to cover the whole timeline as a big whole thing. We're just going to basically just talk about what we like about different series, different characters, all that, and all sorts of things really. As you can see, I got a bit of a list here. So we got number one, got the theme tune. Theme tune, for me, I don't know what you, Dan, is always an important part of Star Trek for me. I love.
Yeah, absolutely. It's its identity, really, isn't it? It's
Exactly. Yeah.
each series has its own unique theme tune and opening credits, and I think it's an important part of Star Trek, really.
Exactly. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. We've got obviously the ship, or the ships within that Star Trek series. So of course, the Enterprise being probably the most iconic ship in the whole of science fiction. I think, I don't know about you, but I think it definitely.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. Yeah.
So obviously we talk about the ships in there. Number three, captain and crew, obviously, who is in command of that ship, and his or her crew, of course, and how they work with them nicely, and all the different characters that they may come across throughout this the series. Episodes, in particular episodes that we like, that I think we are quite iconic within that series, and of course its contribution to the Star Trek timeline, how it does fit in nicely with the Star Trek timeline, and how it has an impact on the Star Trek timeline. I think that's quite
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So as I've got here as well, just some dates. So I said we're doing chronological order. So we're going to start with Star Trek Enterprise. So 2151, the year 2151, all the way to Star Trek Picard, which of course will start in 2399. Hasn't yet, of course, has a finishing date. We've not gone there, but we're on our way. Right then, so we're going to start off, of course, with Enterprise.
I love
the theme. Fantastic theme, of course. Yeah. But the theme, what do we think of the theme?
Well, there we are. Quite a unique theme tune in a way. Obviously, with it having words. Obviously, with all the others, it's more of a instrumental with the others, isn't it? But you know, this was the first one to have. This is almost like a ballad, really.
Yeah,
isn't it?
It reminds you of something someone would play at a wedding.
Yeah,
you know.
I love it. I think it was great. What I like about the opening titles as well is it's sort of like an evolution of the different enterprises.
Yeah.
It was, I think, really to sort of get across the fact that this is, you know, where it all started.
Yeah.
You know, Starfleet and stuff, and sort of going from because you got like the boats.
Yeah.
Start with, haven't you, with Enterprise with a Z.
Yeah.
And it's quite. They've made it quite a nice evolution. Then obviously going through all the different enterprises throughout history, really, and obviously finishing with the NX-01 there. Yeah. I think it's brilliant. It's like I say, a great evolution they put together there, and great song choice.
Yeah,
I think you were miming the words. Every time I would watch an episode, I would sing along to it myself. Do you know what I mean? I think it's absolutely just.
I think it's a nice change. Like, you know, from the original series, we've always had this, orchestral. I think it's if anyone correct me out there, please correct me. I think it's a French horn is played on, that sort of, you know, brass instrument. So it's all instrumental, and then suddenly we've got a ballad, you know, for Enterprise. And I think it's brilliant, and also I think, like you said, shows sort of the evolution in the opening credits.
I think as well, like this just it's a great song choice, and it's sort of, like I say, sums up what Enterprise was meant to be. Like the lyrics, my time is finally here, you know, and I've got faith to believe. And it's like, you know, humans finally branching off and going into space.
And I think the ballad in some ways does make it closer to home, because obviously the idea of Star Trek is meant to be our future. It is set in it's set in our world, in our universe, set on Earth. Because the idea is set on Earth 100 years in the future, or hundreds of years in the future. And I guess that idea of using a ballad, a rock ballad, sort of connects it to the modern world a bit more. You know what I mean? It makes it
absolutely.
more connected, more personal
Yeah.
to the world we live in now, I guess. But yeah, I think it's a great choice, and a lot of people wouldn't. That they're not fans of it, but I think why not? Have a change, and I think it fits nicely. And like I said, it's nice because it's all about, obviously, it's a prequel series, so it goes back to the past with Jonathan Archer. So it's about it's about Star Trek of the past, and yeah, I think it's brilliant. I think it's great. So the ship itself, the NX-01, I know, I do believe that's your favorite ship in the whole franchise.
It is my favorite ship in the whole franchise, and my favorite version of the Enterprise, which some people might disagree with me for. But I love it. It's such a sleek design. It kind of almost, obviously the intention for it was to be obviously this small basic ship that they've put together as their first spaceship to explore space, but it actually looks quite futuristic in a way. It's a nice sleek design. I'm looking at a picture of it right now, actually. I've got a picture of it on my wall. I would get it down, but it's stuck on the boot rack. But I just love it. It's a simple design. It's nice and sleek, and it is one that if I was to have my own ship, I think I would choose the NX-01. And the interior as well. It's a nice simple bridge. I like that you don't see much of like you basically just see the bridge and engineering. Like there's not. It really comes across as this is, like I said about the theme tuners, this is the first ship that Starfleet's put together, and I think they got it spot on. And the same with engineering, really. We obviously say, for instance, Picard's Enterprise, that massive sort of massive engineering room. Voyager has 2 decks of engineering. With the engineering in the NX-01, it's just this sort of small room that looks like a boiler room. Do you know what I mean? It's
yeah.
So I just love it. It like I say, it is my favorite one. It just looks nice and sleek, and I don't know. That's my reasons.
What I like about the NX-01 is that it's the way they've done it. So again, it's very nice looking, very slick, like you said, but also it looks older than, well, it looks older than the original series, basically. So because it's a prequel, they've still made it look older. They still made it look as in with technology wise, for instance. Obviously technology hasn't
technology wise, yeah,
exactly. So for instance, they haven't got they're using what they use in obviously the original series, where they press the button to talk to people around the ship. They go Jonathan Archer to the crew or whatever. So there's elements like that they've kept from the original series, obviously, which works fantastically. I also, with me personally, with the NX-01, I get more of a sense of it being more like not like kind of like a submarine sort of feel to it, a submarine, more of a ship feel.
No, I would agree with that. Yeah. I can see where you're coming from there. Yeah, absolutely.
Which I really love about, because like I said, because it's obviously a prequel, so it's set obviously further back in the past in the timeline. It has this more gritty submarine sort of feel to it, which I think is brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And again, I think that's that's a good point. Like that, the grittiness of it. That's why I would choose to command the NX-01. And I like it. It's just basically a saucer section.
Yeah.
With the other ships, you've got a saucer section, and then like the rest of the ship. It is literally just the saucer section.
Yeah.
Again, just like you say, nice, simple design.
So the captain and the crew. Of course, you've got Captain Jonathan Archer
Mm-hmm.
for Enterprise. I think he's a fantastic captain.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Played by Scott Bakula,
Mhm.
who was in Quantum Leap. If any of you know Quantum Leap.
Yeah, of course he was. Yeah. Do you know what? I never even thought about that, but he is, isn't he? Of course he is. Yeah.
Yeah, well, there's an episode as well, actually. The guy who plays, um, I haven't really seen Quantum Leap for years, but the guy who is opposite Scott Bakula in Quantum Leap,
Mm-hmm.
there is an episode of him in Enterprise. Um, I think it's an episode where him and Trip get captured or something, and like he's the prison guard or something like that.
Okay. Yes, I think I
So
know.
that's quite a cool sort of.
Yeah. I think I remember actually. Yeah. No, I think I know what you mean. Yeah.
But Jonathan Archer, yeah, great captain, like you say. He's, I think he's a great leader,
Mm-hmm.
and definitely knows how to lead a team,
Mm-hmm.
command a ship. He's got that sort of determination, and he really puts, he really puts the word I'm trying to say. He really puts his crew first. He kind of always makes sure that his crew's like well-being is there. Do you know what I mean? You know what I'm trying to say?
In some episodes, obviously, he's criticised for the way he commands because he's more as like a friend, isn't he, than a captain sometimes. But he's a very good captain. Obviously, he's very authoritative, but he's also a good friend of theirs, which I think I guess if you are going to be a captain on a spaceship, light years away from your planet, you're going to end up having to be good friends with all these people, I guess. But I know there are episodes where he's criticised for the way he commands because he's very friendly and he likes to socialise with people, and
Yeah, I quite like that though. I think he's got that friendliness side to him, but also, like you say, he has got that authoritative feel to it. Sort of like Janeway in a way. She was like you wouldn't want to cross Jonathan Archer. Do you know what I mean?
No.
You won't cross him, especially in episodes like, especially throughout the Xindi arc, where his determination to protect Earth sort of it kind of took over him.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Sort of he was so determined not to let the Xindi destroy Earth, like he became obsessed with sort of protecting the ship, protecting Earth, protecting his crew.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's quite a protective, captain. Which, but like I said, great leader. But I quite like the friendliness element of it. I think if I was to be a captain, I would like to be friends with, my crew.
Yeah. No, definitely.
I think it's important.
I definitely think that really shows in Jonathan Archer and throughout the series. That's what he's all about. He really has a strong bond with the rest of the crew, especially characters, of course, like Tucker, like Trip, who is, well, I'd say probably is his best friend, really, isn't it? Best friend.
Yeah.
Enterprise.
Well, they went to
the academy
together. So.
Yeah. Again, obviously talking about characters, though, I think Tucker, to me, he's he is a Scotty character with the respects. Of course, he is a chief engineer. However, there's more to that as well. I think he's like a Scotty character because he has this sort of this sort of working class sort of persona. Where I think is important, is the idea that all the scientists and all the commanders all work on the bridge, and he's this. I guess he's from Florida, isn't he? It's the South of America. He's sort of the working class man. He's got a stronger accent on him, and he's a bit more, I would say, gritty, but he's a bit more, I don't know, I guess open and things. He's a bit more, he's just a bigger character in that respect, I guess, really. But like Scotty was,
Yeah, absolutely. And funny you should say Scotty as well. He's got that love of his ship.
Mm-hmm.
It's his ship. Like it might be commanded by Jonathan Archer, but it's his ship. I think it's great when engineers love their ships and sort of
Yeah.
call it she rather than it.
Oh
You know
yeah.
what I mean? And just like really looks after it and sort of he's definitely got that. Yeah, I love Trip. I think one of my favorite Trip moments is in season 1 of an early episode in season 1 where they're doing they're on the bridge and they're doing like the letters from home from the school.
Yeah.
School kids have questions, and one of the questions from the school kids is like how you go to the toilet, and
Yeah.
and Jonathan Archer said, "Oh, I think we should direct that to our engineer," and Trip just goes, "Can we just pause?" And he just goes, "Poop question, sir." That is one of my favorite Trip moments. Poop question, sir. He's got that really like cheekiness sort of why me sort of thing too.
And he gets into all sorts of all sorts of problems as well, which I think is good. Like I said, it really brings out his funny side. Like the episode when he actually gets pregnant.
Yeah. I was about to say the pregnancy episode. Yeah.
In a way, he's not necessarily a rebel, but he can be a bit of a bad boy as well. He has, but
he does have that. Yeah, he does
so
have
he gets
that.
away with it. Does that?
Yeah, he has that sort of happy-go-lucky sort of bit of a lad sort of thing. So, like I say, very well played by the actor. Sort of, he's got that love of his ship, but also the playfulness.
Yeah, no, definitely.
So, yeah, I love Trip.
As a whole, though, with crew, I think it's a fantastic crew. Lots of different characters. Who not to love? They're all great.
Very diverse. Dr. Phlox as well. Great doctor. But again, I would say up there with one of my favourite doctors. It's interesting because like he's Denobulan and I don't think we've seen Denobulans before, have we? Or
no, I do believe. Say correct if I'm wrong out there, but I do believe that's the first time we actually do see them in the franchise. Is on.
Great, lovable doctor, and yeah.
No, it is a fantastic crew. Great captain. I mean, episodes. I think. Me personally, my favorite episodes are actually of the last season. To me, I'm going to connect as well with the contribution to the Star Trek timeline is basically when they make the Federation, Federation of Planets. To me, that's my. I know it's the last one. I mean, personally, I think you'll agree with this. I think Star Trek Enterprise finished too soon. It should have been longer than that. It was 4 seasons was just not enough for us. It needed to be longer. But it's just.
I think that was just down to it getting cancelled, though, unfortunately.
Yeah, no, of course. But I think overall, though, I think I'm not sure it's my favorite episode because the episode I always think about when people ask me about Star Trek Enterprise is the last episode. Is when Jonathan Archer's there and he makes his speech, and then obviously that connects then with TNG. But to me, that's just the way it, because that's what's so important about Enterprise is that it just sets the foundation of. Oh, you got a dog barking there.
Yeah, the dog. Someone's come home.
So that sets the foundation then for the United Federation of Planets, which I think is fantastic what they depicted there, especially at the end. Of course, I don't want to ruin it. If people haven't watched it yet, I don't want to ruin it for you. Probably not this bit now, but at the end, of course, Jonathan Archer speak, and then we Captain Picard, and then we Captain Kirk speak, and it's just
it is good.
It's on your goosebumps. That sort of feeling, really. Our contribution to the rest of the series, I'd say. That's it. It sets the foundation.
Yeah. And interesting you should say about season 4 as well. They were really trying to go with sort of setting up the Romulans.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
Sort of thing. So in terms of contribution to, it would have been great to see where they'd have gone with it, especially with the Romulans, because that was getting really good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, obviously got cancelled. But
Oh yeah, couldn't agree more. I think season 5 would have been all about that. Would have
yeah,
been all about the Federation, and then obviously the
yeah,
conflict with the Romulans, and the
yeah.
would have all been about. Right then, so that was sorry, Enterprise. Shall we
Can I
move?
say my favourite episode, or am
Oh,
I not?
sorry, Dan. I do apologise. Yeah.
I do. I believe it or not, I do have favourite episodes. I should say as well, I really love Enterprise. I think a lot of people don't like it,
Yeah.
um, which is fair enough. If you don't like it, that's fine. But I absolutely love Enterprise, and I would say to anyone, give it a watch.
Mm-hmm.
My favourite episode is from season 2, episode 5, A Night in Sick Bay, and it's the episode where Porthos, the captain's dog, is really sick. He picks up that
Okay.
pathogen or something,
Mm-hmm.
and Jonathan Archer has to sort of spend the night in sick bay, and he won't leave his bedside, and it really sort of drives that what I was saying earlier about his nature. He really cares for obviously not just his crew, but well, Porthos, who is basically part of the crew. I felt like Porthos was part of the crew anyway. I just love that episode just because it is literally man and dog. Sort of man won't leave dog's side. Very concerned. Dr. Fox is good in that episode as well because you get to see what Fox gets up to in sick bay.
Yeah, also it really shows. Obviously, well, yeah, it's up to you right there, but I think it really shows with Flux. He found it hard, if you remember, to really understand why humans had such an attachment to dogs and pets.
Yeah. And I think, well, sorry, carry on.
So I think that's definitely an interesting point there because it really highlights how humans we do I guess have a really soft spot for for animals, of course, like dogs and pets, and that really shows in Jonathan Archer again. He's a very big hierarchy character. However, with his dog, he's this soft character. He's this loving character. So
yeah. I like that they put Porthos in it because we'd never really seen we'd seen animals and pets from other species. Like Klingons have their targs. Data has Spot. So it was nice to sort of, I think, like I said, that man and dog element of it.
Man's best friend. Yeah, man's
best friend. It does drive home that sort of. It was really nice. It was refreshing to have Porthos there. He loved his cheese.
No, he did. Yeah.
So that's that. I mean, it's not an important episode, but it just
I'm happy you stopped me there. I'm happy that you brought that one up. Actually, because I think that's definitely an interesting case study to talk about, especially talking about Enterprise. So no, definitely. No,
there we are.
Yeah. Right, and so as I don't mean to rush you. It's just we have got quite a lot to talk about.
We've got a lot to get through.
Yeah. So Discovery now. Discovery. So let's hang on. So if I do. So first of all, let's have a look at there we go. So yeah, we talk about Enterprise, of course, 2151 to 2161. We're now talking about Star Trek Discovery, which is 2255. That's where the year it starts in. The year it finishes, of course, we don't know yet. This is not finished.
It's still going.
It's still going. Yeah. Okay, so first of all, let's play. We'll have to play the theme tune or the opening, of course. Okay. So what do we think of that opening?
This one was when I first watched. It took me 2 attempts to watch Discovery. I'll just start by saying when I first watched it, and I admittedly didn't like it, but I think then it was you, after having a conversation with you, that persuaded me to give it another try. But when I first heard it, I didn't really like it, but it definitely grew on me. This theme tune, I like the different instruments played. Obviously, start with like
I think I lost you there, Dan.
Or the violins or whatever, like the it's quite it's a grower. It does grow on you, the theme tune, and I think it's again quite an exciting tune. It definitely builds that excitement, and
Yeah, yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely. I think I lost you for a second there, but I think I just caught what you said about the instrument. Sorry, Lola. I think it literally just froze for literally a moment then, but I think we're fine. But no,
Okay.
I couldn't agree more actually with the opening. I think it really has elements of the original series in it.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all about, really. The original series, like for instance, I mean, the visuals. We see, of course, the phaser. We see the communicator. It's all about that. We see, of course, the Vulcan salute. Um,
Yeah.
it's very highly about. It's building up about. I guess the original series really. It's going like, remember this sort of. I think it's really using nostalgia as his weapon, really, to really.
I think the whole thing is like it kind of, to me, it's kind of like a remix, isn't it? Of,
Yeah,
well, not
yeah,
a remix, like a, yeah, like you say, well, yeah, a remix, I guess, because it does have like different notes of the original, but also it has its own, uh, melodies and stuff. And obviously, with you with you saying about the nostalgia stuff, it is a remix of sort of, we're bringing Star Trek back now. Obviously, that's what, it was the first
uh-huh.
one since, that we'd had Discovery since,
Yeah.
Nemesis, I guess. So
Mhm.
it's sort of we're bringing back Star Trek. I mean, so
Well, it's
it's
the
a
first
remake.
Star Trek series, well, that was and obviously produced by Rick Berman, which is quite a big
Mm,
thing, I'd say, because obviously it's not in Berman's hands anymore. Obviously, the last one he did would have been well, the series one was Enterprise.
mm,
So so yeah, this is Star Trek of the future, I guess, isn't it? It's in a
yeah,
way Berman's children. They're the ones who picked it up now. They're the ones doing it now. He's had to let it go. Obviously, Gene Roddenberry was first, then it was him, and now, well, obviously now it's been handed over to the younger generation. But yeah, as you said, I like when you describe it as a remix, because when you say the term remix, I think of modern. If you know what I
mm,
mean, it's been more modernized.
yeah, absolutely,
Yeah,
yeah,
so
yeah,
it's like taking elements from the 1960s and remixing them, modernizing them, more the I don't know, I guess more of a contemporary television series feel to it. I think it
yeah.
definitely has. Oh yeah, definitely. So yeah, so Discovery then. So what do we think of the actual series itself, Discovery?
Well, like I say, I mean, it took me 2 attempts to watch it. I
Mm.
think the first time I got to, just episode 2 and just gave up, and then obviously after having a conversation with you, I'm really glad I stuck with it. It is one that you've got to stick with, especially throughout the first season. I think it gets off to a really, well, not a really slow start, but it has to find its feet first.
I'll be
Um,
honest, I think season two was my favorite with Captain
had-
Pike. Season two, I think, was my favorite with Captain
yeah,
Pike. Yeah.
but like season 2 is, yeah, I would say to anyone who hasn't watched Discovery yet, give it a chance until season 2,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, which I think is probably one of the things you said to me.
Yeah,
But yeah, I love it. I think it is Star Trek. It's got a lot of great episodes, and
yeah.
it's got a lot of scope as well. Like it's the way it's produced, if you know what I mean. It's got a lot of high production values, obviously, because it probably had a big budget coming from. I mean, it's on Netflix and stuff, isn't it? So it's
Yeah. Mhm.
got a lot of. But I quite like that. It's the way it's produced. I think it's very big and very without being too showy. If
Yeah.
that makes sense. I think it could have fallen into a trap of sort of going, oh, look at us, we're Star Trek, and
Yeah, yeah.
look at what we can do. But I
Yeah.
think, do you know what I'm trying to say? Yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah.
I love it. I
Yeah, yeah.
know that you're not too keen on it, but
I do like. I mean, a lot of people didn't really like the idea of the whole jumping thing, of teleporting, jumping with spores and all
mm,
that. Now, I mean, I in a way actually did like it because it's Star Trek. Obviously, is all about it's science fiction that's based on actual scientific fact, and that is actually a theory. The whole idea with spores and things. So that works well nicely within Star Trek.
I
Um,
remember you telling me about that because I think that was one of the issues I had
yeah,
with it. I think that was the only thing that, whilst I love Discovery, I think that was one of the only things I think that I struggled to sort of
yeah.
like, shall we say?
Well, yeah, the ship itself as well, Discovery. Also, we'll talk about ships. I think the design's fantastic, and also the idea it can sort of jump between different parts of the universe or different universes, as that obviously goes into the mirror universe as well. I think the problem I have though with Discovery, and there is an issue, is I sometimes yes, because obviously it's a prequel, but sometimes I feel like it's more advanced than the Enterprise, obviously, which will be obviously later on, 10 years after.
Yeah,
And
yeah, I think I can see where you're coming from. Yeah.
and it shouldn't be really, but I think that's just to do obviously with special effects and technology and
Yeah, I think it is. Yeah, I think it is to do with what I was saying about the production value of it. I think it just had a big budget, and I think
which is
they.
fantastic. Don't get me wrong. Chuck loads of money out, but I think the problem is because it's a prequel. That's where you need to be careful. As people. I mean, Enterprise had it to a T. It had that submarine sort of feel to it, and that was perfect. The grittiness of it, I love that. But Discovery
Yeah,
is very like you have to be careful with how it how it you can still use amazing effects, make it look incredible, for everyone to enjoy. And I understand now that's the market now. I mean, Netflix is, people want to see great action scenes. They want to see amazing CGI. I understand that. Of course, that's fantastic. But the problem is, at the same time, you need to make sure it does fit nicely within, the time frame of it as well. And it is meant to be 10 years older than the Enterprise. And at the
yeah,
moment, the Enterprise looks like it's 50 years older
yeah.
than Discovery, and
The fact that it flips as well, I don't like that. I like the design of Discovery. I think it's great, but I think the fact that it flips
yeah,
when it
yeah.
goes into the
Uh-huh.
spore thing,
Yeah,
I didn't like, admittedly. But as a ship, I think it is,
yeah. Mhm.
a very nicely designed ship. But I can see where you're coming from with that. Yeah,
Yeah,
because I would say it's probably bigger than Kirk's Enterprise. Do you know what I mean?
yeah, yeah.
So there could be an issue there. Yeah, I
Hmm.
can understand that.
Where the
Yeah.
Enterprise is meant to be the most advanced ship, it is the
Mm,
flagship, and
yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
well, why Discovery so amazing? Or why they have snazzy uniforms on Discovery,
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. Yeah.
It's things like that, and I understand why they do it. Obviously, they want to make it look fresh, and that's great. I'm not knocking that at all. That's fantastic. But you also got to take in consideration how it fits in, which was talked all about within obviously the timeline, and that's one thing. I'm like, with really, and I understand why people then argue whether or not it's canon. And I say it's canon, of course it's canon, but it's things like that that makes you think
Oh
about.
yeah, it's canon. Yeah, definitely canon for me. Like
Yeah, yeah.
like I say, I as a series, I really like it, and I'm looking forward to season 3. I'm
No,
glad that it's still
I am as
going.
well. I mean, there was such a cliffhanger at the end of it.
Mm.
And, it's very exciting. I mean, okay, so captain wise, I mean, technically, Discovery had was it? Well,
Million.
what was that? Sorry.
A million.
Million captains, yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's what I think. So obviously, technically, 3 captains. I think is that right? I can't really remember. So, I mean, Captain Pike. I always just think, if I'm honest with you, I
Mm.
think in
Yeah.
Discovery. What was the name of the guy who was the captain, but then obviously turned out to be the guy from their universe who was a prisoner and you
Oh
know,
yeah, his name escapes me as well. Him.
who was the captain in the first
Yeah.
season. Again, though, I think with him and Pike, I'm going to focus mainly on Pike because Pike to me was one of really stuck out. And to Pike,
Yeah.
when people say to me the captain of Discovery, I know technically it was and it wasn't, blah blah blah, but Pike in a way was, well, he's the captain of Discovery. Yes, he was captain of Enterprise as well, but yeah, but for now, I'd say it was Captain Pike.
Yeah.
Especially for season 2. I think the good thing about Pike, I know obviously we did see Pike in the original series, which we'll get to very shortly. But I think Discovery as well really showed that element of sort of like the strong, like Archer and Kirk, strong American sort of authoritative man that we saw with Captain Kirk, of course, and we see with Captain Archer, as we talked about, and the guy even before Pike shows that as well. It's that sort of short back inside, slickness, quite conservative looking, I guess, but it was worked brilliantly. You know what I mean? With sort of gives a salute, I say, a salute to the original series, because the original series has that, has that figure. But then, like the original series, though, even though it has that sort of conservative, short back insides look as for the captain, Discovery, just like the original series, again, has a salute to the original series. It's all about, which we'll get to, because I'm getting into the original series now, but it's all about obviously, different topics of like race and sex and sexuality. Discovery focuses, I'd say, a lot on sexuality. So not only,
absolutely.
that's why I like about Star Trek has like this sort of element of like, sort of, like I said, sort of like a conservative sort of look, but then within that it has all this sort of these political topics that we talk about in modern time now, but in this, obviously, on this spaceship, like as I said, Discovery, I would say, mainly focuses a lot on sexuality. Obviously, it has characters, obviously, who are homosexuals, and it really does explore that, which the original series, of course, at the time, didn't, and possibly, well, couldn't as much back in those days, of course, back in the 1960s.
Couldn't and probably wouldn't. Yeah.
Whereas obviously now, the times we live in now, and we obviously, it's fantastic, we can talk about these sort of things and depict them on television.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Discovery really does go like, look, this is Star Trek. On Star Trek, everyone is, well, I guess equal. Everyone is part of this world. It doesn't matter your sexuality, your shape, or you look at your color. It doesn't matter. This is Star Trek. And I think the good thing about Discovery is, because it's a prequel and it talks about homosexuality, that's a big thing to have, because also it's 10 years before the Enterprise, so that really does show again how say mankind has really progressed from modern times now, like, well, especially the 1960s anyway.
No, that's perfectly summed up there.
Yeah.
I will also say she doesn't become captain of Discovery, but I quite like Captain Giorgio of the Shenzhou. And obviously she in the mirror universe as well. I think she's great, and again, obviously with the sexuality thing as well with there, I think she's a brilliant character. Again, she's just as good as Pike in that she's got that really mean, stern feel to her. You wouldn't want to cross her.
No.
And she's a very interesting character, especially the mirror universe side of her. Obviously ends up going to work with the Section 31 people. So I would say I quite like her as a captain.
Yeah. Again, you said about the mirror universe. I think Discovery really goes into that a lot more as well with the mirror universe, and obviously Section 31, which is great. But to talk about other characters as well, I think Tilly is a very strong character. To me, what I love about Tilly is what I think is great about this sort of modern era of Star Trek as well, is that it really focuses on, yes, I know we had the working man, like we had Tucker, we had Scotty. However, Tilly, to me, Tilly's even more than that. Tilly could be a neighbor. Tilly's that girl from school. Tilly's the girl that was a year younger, a year older than you. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And because Tilly, she's a very intelligent character, of course. She's very bright what she does, but I don't want to say common. That's not what I mean. I mean she's just a regular person. She really has that. I think that the fans can really have a connection with her. We all know a Tilly. you know what
Yeah.
I mean? We all know.
Yeah, we all know a Tilly. Yeah.
Yeah, we all know a Tilly. So I think Tilly again is a great character that people can relate to on all sorts of different levels. You know, emotionally.
I
And
think as well, like she really sort of sums up what my sister said about being like individuality and an outsider. I think, you know, without offending my sister, like my sister would be Tilly. Do you know what I mean? Like, or like not. I
but
don't
it's
mean
cool
any
to
offense
be
with that.
Tilly now. Isn't it? It's cool to be Tilly.
Pardon?
It's
Yeah,
cool
well, yeah,
to be
exactly.
Tilly.
I would say Tilly is one of my favorite characters in Discovery, actually. But
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, she's brilliant, very determined.
I think in some respects, some of the series sort of lacking is that sort of common sort of character that, you know, like I said, Tilly could be someone that you see in Tesco's every day or someone like that. You know what I mean? It's that
Yeah,
character, like, and it works perfectly because
yeah,
she is from our world, like, and now she is on a spaceship, and that's brilliant. You kind of see Tilly as like a big sister sort of character, or like you said, like your sister.
yeah,
Oh, that sort
yeah,
of thing, isn't it?
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah,
you're just proud to see her there, really doing well. So yeah, I think character-wise, brilliant. It focuses on a lot of different issues. Obviously, like I said, I mentioned homosexuality. It still has an essence conservative sort of style look, which I think is a salute to the original series, and it has sort of characters that we can all relate to. Particularly, of course, like characters like Tilly. Obviously, Star Trek, obviously with the original series, like as a salute, the main character, of course, the hero of Discovery, is obviously Michael Berman, who is obviously an African American lady, which obviously I think is a big part of Star Trek. Again, you have obviously characters who are from Asian descent, all over, no? Which is the all. I always think the whole point of Star Trek is that we're
yeah.
all, yeah, all different
But
colors.
again, individuality and outsiders, you know, all
Yeah,
coming
yeah, no,
together,
definitely,
working
100%,
together. Yeah.
100% agree with that. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, any episodes you want to talk about in particular with Star Trek Discovery?
I don't have a particularly favorite episode. Just going back to the mirror episodes, obviously there was a lot of focus on that, and I think those all are just really good episodes.
Yeah,
But I don't know. I don't have a specific favorite episode, but I would say they did the mirror universe
yeah.
well, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
yeah. No, I think I said, do I have a particular favorite episode? I don't know. I'm not too sure. I think yeah, you're right that I don't say I have a particular favorite episode because I think I don't know. It's because Discovery, like Picard is. We'll get to Picard obviously short later on in this episode, but I think it's very it's more it's more obviously more of a drama series. You know what I mean? That makes sense.
Yeah.
Then obviously Star Trek has drama in it, of course. It always had drama in it, but I mean. You could potentially. I mean, I do. I play Star Trek roulette sometimes while from a random episode. It doesn't really matter. Obviously, Star Trek does have a continuous story throughout all the series, as we all know. However, I think Discovery is more like a television series, a drama series, where you do need to watch them in order.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
you're going to watch it. It's a bit more like, and it is a Netflix drama series.
And I think that is the reason. I think.
Yeah. And yeah, because you see them all as one, I guess, isn't it? It's like you're watching something on Netflix, you're watching, I don't know, some or any TV drama like that. It's that sort of thing where you usually need to watch them all in order. You couldn't just pick a random episode or something, really. But then I like that. I think that's again a nice way of carrying on with the franchise. And I think a lot of people, especially people who are say new to Star Trek, they sort of follow TV series like that. Like myself and you. I mean, we watch a lot of Star Trek, of course, where there's like 7 seasons. There's 26 episodes in each season. There's a lot of things going on. There could be one episode. Oh, I mean, there's loads of episodes where not much happens in it. Really, they're just mucking around on the deck. But I mean, we like that stuff. But you can understand for the new fans and the younger audience, they may not be into that as much. So maybe this whole serial sort of format is probably maybe the future of Star Trek, really. What I mean is every single episode has previously on Star Trek Discovery, whereas obviously we didn't have. We obviously had it, but we didn't have it as much, did we? Really on the other seasons. But yeah, contribution to the rest of the timeline. I say, of course, it fits. I think it fits nicely. However, I mean, the last episode, of course, we lost Discovery. Is the whole point of Discovery? It's meant to be a secret, isn't it? It's meant to be no one's meant to talk about it. So I think it's one of them seasons you could literally take it away and it wouldn't really have much effect at the moment. We'll wait and see what happens in season 3. Obviously, but at the moment, I'm getting the vibe that it's one of the ones like, yeah, it's great to have. I don't knock it, but is it really? Does it really affect the time on that much? At the moment, I'd say no. But season 3 could tell me, otherwise.
Yeah.
So we'll wait.
And as a Star Trek series in itself, I think it's it holds its own. I think yes, it has its problems. Yes, it's perhaps not as it has a different style. I think, like you say about the episodes and stuff. But I think it's up there as a Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
series.
definitely.
It is Star Trek, so
100% agree with it. 100% agree with it.
That's what I think.
Yeah, no, definitely, 100% agree with you. Right, and so I think we should move on to the next one.
I think we're moving on. Yeah, I think I'm quite conscious of time, so yeah, let's move on.
Okay, so let's have a look here now. So we're getting there. So we got the original series. Okay, so 2265, 2269. So let's play the theme tune, I'd say.
Yeah.
To the original series. Right then. So first of all, let's just get it up here. Okay. Right then. And this is, like I said, the last episode. This is actually my favorite of all the series.
Mm-hmm.
Here we go. So first of all, what do we think of the opening?
Such an iconic theme tune, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
So you hear that, and you hear space, the final frontier, and you know it's Star Trek. I think it's brilliant. I quite like the fact that it obviously it was in the 60s, but it is a very exciting theme tune, and I can imagine sort of obviously not seeing anything like that before in the 60s. It was quite a new big thing. It really grips you and entices you. It's such an iconic, isn't it? It's so iconic, that theme tune. I think it's great.
Yeah.
And I liked it when they added the because originally it didn't have the it was just the. I liked it when they added that in.
Yeah.
I think that made it better.
Yeah. I think it's like I said, it is Star Trek, guys. That everyone is iconic. Everyone knows what it is. Just William Shatner on space, the final frontier. That's what it's all about. It's fantastic. I'd say, of course, the Enterprise, the original 17001. Well, yeah, that. Yes, just perfect. I think that design of a spaceship is just perfect. It's just
you can't go wrong with that.
Exactly. That is it. That is what we want. That is the design that we need. Like that is all about. It's I say you can't go wrong with that. And I gotta say, in 1960s, that was, as you said, some really high tech things back then. I can imagine being very we've been very amazed by it. A lot of people, of course, would have seen it even in black and white, but still would have been amazed by seeing Star Trek and the bridge and how the ship moves through space. And it's just, I said, you can't beat that shape. And that's the shape really that has been the base for all Star Trek ships, then I'd say throughout the franchise, really. And it's all thanks to just that simple, slick, brilliant design. Yeah, definitely. Obviously the Captain James T. Kirk. He is, like I said, he's the all-American. Obviously, just a just a fantastic character. Really, he's just
yeah,
strong. He's funny. Obviously, William Shatner was a massive sex icon as well at the time, so that was a big part. Because Star Trek is famous for being sexy as well, not only obviously for science fiction, but especially the original series was all about sex as well, and that's what he did. Captain Kirk, he was a player, and that's what I like about him. You know, he was again, he was kind of was different than Captain Archer. He was a bit more of a Captain Kirk was a bad boy. You know what I mean? He had this persona where he was a great leader, but he liked a bit of fun. he, you know, he liked.
But he never lost that. He never lost the sense of duty, or he never lost his sense that I'm the captain. He always, I think, retained that, whilst being a bit of a playboy and a bit of a man. You know what I mean? He always had that element to him.
No, definitely, he's just like I said, William. I read somewhere that apparently William Shatner had a lot to do with the editing as well, whereas he wanted people. For instance, whenever there was an alien, like an attractive woman on the screen, or like an alien race or whatever, that there had to be Captain's reaction. I'm like, yeah, she's attractive. That sort of thing, because it had to be him who had to ended up with the obviously the alien, obviously, and Captain Kirk as well. Obviously, we talk about the original series. We talk about certain topics, political topics, obviously with race and sex. Captain Kirk, of course, and Lieutenant Uhura did the first interracial kiss, of course, on American television, which is important to highlight as well. So yeah, he is. In my opinion, obviously, as you know, he is my favorite captain. He is because to me.
No, he is. He is great.
The cast and the crew, of course, as I said the last episode, they are like the Beatles of the science fiction world.
Yeah.
Perfect. The way they all talk, interact, and it just works brilliantly on the screen. I think definitely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No. Absolutely. Yeah. There's. I'd say for me, I quite like Mr. Sulu.
Mm-hmm.
Again, just I think he's just a great character. I think it's something about George Takei as well. But personally, he's just one I think I was just drawn to most. No particular reason why, I don't think, but I quite like Mr. Sulu.
I think it's because they all have like really big personalities.
Yeah.
They're sort of caricature characters, but still natural at the same time. It's just worked really nicely, doesn't it?
Yeah. If I was asked to pick a character, I'd say Mr. Sulu. I like him.
Yeah. And well, I mean, when it comes to because I'm trying to get a bit quicker now. Obviously, we have to a lot to go talk through. But when it comes to obviously episodes wise, I mean, I personally love Mirror Mirror is an important one for me. Mirror Mirror as well. I mean, I wrote I'm gonna say this out there. I didn't mention it last episode. Sorry, we haven't done a season yet. I did talk about, of course, I wrote my dissertation on Star Trek, and one of the ones I really focused on was the episode Mirror Mirror. And Mirror Mirror was because it was the Lieutenant Uhura, Nichelle Nichols, of course, who plays her, and she plays this obviously the idea, of course, in the 1960s was a black lady in space, you know, and she was on the bridge, and she had a very important role, and at the time that was a very a big thing at the time. I mean, inspired people like Whoopi Goldberg, for instance, you know, to actually be in Star Trek. And there's Mirror Mirror is when she actually is a very strong character. She's not the damsel in distress. She's not calling for help, and she starts fighting and sticking up for herself, you know, and it shows how much of a strong character she is, and I think it really shows that in the episode Mirror Mirror. Definitely how strong she is as a character. You know, she is a black lady from the United States, but she's got authority, and she is a very strong character, which I think at the time was very iconic. You know. And I think looking back, especially what's going on in the world at the moment, obviously with Black Lives Matter, I really think that's a really important part as well to mention. that character, and especially in that episode, because that episode to me is when it's just, I don't know, I just, because to me that episode is when she has girl power. You know what I mean? That whole like girl power, you know, women are in control, and and the fact that she's a woman, but she's a black lady, and she has girl power in the 1960s on a spaceship as well. To me, that is just everything that Star Trek again is all about. You know, equality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
My favourite episode would be City on the Edge of Forever, which I think a lot of people would also agree with. I think just because it's a very fun episode, and it goes back in time. There's a lot going on, and they have to figure out how to get back, and obviously Spock having to like cover his ears and stuff. It's all got those exciting elements of, you know, it's that classic, we're stuck, we need to try and figure out how to get back. It's just a very fun episode, City on the Edge of Forever. I don't really have anything else to say, but I think if I was to pick an episode to watch again, it would be City on the Edge of Forever.
Oh yeah, I mean Star Trek, iconic episodes as well. I'm just gonna say them briefly now, like was it Name Your Battlefield? I think it's called. It's the one again. It's the black and white men, you know, half black, and again, I think that's like I mentioned, Mirror Mirror with Lieutenant Uhura. I think it really highlights what's going on in the world today. If aliens were looking down and seeing what we were doing now, obviously with the Black Lives Matter movement, it's the idea of they were looking down and being like, so what's your problem? Your problem is color. And you got to think as well, back then people might have been watching Star Trek and thinking, oh my god, you know, all their problem is because he's black on one side and white on the other side, and he's white on one side and black on the other side, or whatever, you know. And that's basically what's happening in the world now, all over the world, you know. It's just that's what people are obviously fighting over or having a problem with, is something as simple as someone's color, you know. And that's what I like about it. It sort of makes it in the way I like to see it is through a child's eye, you know, how a child would see it, you know. Like I think that's a good way. I think that's what Star Trek does, using the whole space exploration and visiting other planets, and when they have problems that relate to our own problems, it's sort of it has a bit of a satire element to it, whereas basically a child will look at it. So like as in a child explaining to you what racism is, and a child might say they don't like them because they're black, they don't like them because they're white, and that's basically it when you think about it, when you look at it like from a bird's eye view. If you were visiting alien from a different planet, and you think about it, it's nothing. It's very silly. That's what people are fighting over, which I think Star Trek really did deliver nicely. And in the 1960s as well, as I said, obviously that is some hard stuff to really feed your audience, you know. So that's another one as well with the original series. But yeah, obviously how it relates to the rest of the timeline. Well, if it wasn't for the original series, we wouldn't be here right now. So,
absolutely. Yeah. So, it started it all off. Exactly. Why we're here.
Exactly. So, if it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be here right now. So, I'd say, it is literally it's the base of the timeline, because it started the timeline really. So there we are. Right, and so we're going to move on now to our next one. So I think we're picking up speed a little bit now. So we got Star Trek the Animated Series. That started, of course, 2269, 2270. Okay, right then. So what we're going to do again, I'm going to play the theme. Wrote the theme tune, play the theme tune. Okay. So here we go. This is... Oh. Should have the volume up. So this is Star Trek, the animated series now. And I'm going to play the video. Here we go. Thoughts of the opening? What do we think?
It's really fun. I think what I like about it is obviously the series was animated, but you can tell like the theme tune was also animated.
Yeah.
And you can tell it's a cartoon, which I really like. They kind of really jazzed it. Well, not jazzed it up, but they cartoonized.
I think jazzed up is a good description, actually.
Yeah, they cartoonized the theme tune
Yeah.
of the live action, and I think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
You're watching a cartoon. I think it's brilliant. I really like it.
So obviously Star Trek the animated series, if you don't know, of course, does follow on from the original series. It's basically the original series, but in cartoon form. Obviously to do with
It is good.
yeah, they obviously cut the original series due to lack of budget and things like that. So instead of making live action, which obviously costs a lot of money, they just got the actors in a studio and record their voices instead. Again, obviously, you got Captain Kirk, you got them all. You got Spock, of course, again with animated and the original series, of course. Iconic character Leonard Nimoy, obviously fantastic. The thing about the animated series for me that I really like. I said it's just more Star Trek. Really, that's all I loved about it. It was just more to watch. Like you watch the original series. There's only three seasons. And then oh well more, but then to me, I mean, a lot of Star Trek fans would say it's not canon, but I love them. I think it's great that the story continues, sort of thing.
Yeah. And the fact they could do a lot more with it, sort of a lot more aliens and sort of and the design of aliens. It's not just people in costumes. They've got more imaginative. You know what I mean?
Well, they've got like Lieutenant Emrez, who is a Acacian, the lying cat.
Yeah.
They have her obviously on the bridge. So again, they probably wouldn't have had that much, the budget and technology in order to do that in the original season. Because you remember, there weren't that many aliens really in the original season until season 3, really. So that was a big thing as well. There was more they can do with budget. They can go anywhere around, anywhere. Their imagination is limitless, You had, Arex, is it? Mr. Arex. He's the weird goat thing with 3 arms. That's all I can describe him as. I can't remember what his...
The one that sits next to Mr. Sulu.
Yeah, that guy. The one who's that weird Chekhov, I think, should be sat, but he sat there.
Yeah.
We replaced the Russian with a goat thing with 3 arms. Basically. Episode-wise... I really like it's called Mudd's Passion. And that is when obviously Harry Mudd, we were talking about Harry Mudd before, me and Dan. Harry Mudd is a great character in the original series and the animated series, and also Discovery and the short treks he's in as well. He is basically a gangster in a way. He's a villain, but he's not a villain as in he's not like a leader of the Klingon Empire, or the Romulans, nothing like that. He is a bad guy, but he's just a crook, basically. He's just a gangster crook, kind of like a Han Solo character, but in the Star Trek universe. And Mudd's Passion's great because he basically gives the crew of the Enterprise a love potion, which causes them all to fall in love with each other, which I find it quite funny. I mean, it's quite a comical episode and quite iconic as well. And you really see Mudd. And that's sort of thing he does. He's not a villain as in like he's going to kill you as such. I think he's more like he's more of a trickster sort of character, which I think is great, definitely a great character. Also as well, I do need to apologize for last episode, Dan. I did have it wrong. Robert April was depicted in the animated series. He's in the last episode.
I haven't got there yet. I'm still making my way through.
I don't want to ruin that for you. But he is...
Oh, no, it's okay.
Yeah, he is Commodore Robert April, and the episode is the counterclock incident. We go to a section of space where everything goes backwards. Time goes backwards.
I shall look forward to that episode. I haven't got there yet. So.
I completely forgot about that. So he is in and Commodore Robert April as well, with his wife Sarah April. So yeah, they basically Captain Kirk's meant to be taking them to a planet. Unfortunately, they get obviously things happen and they get stuck in this section of the universe where time goes backwards, and they get affected by it, as you can imagine. But I don't want to ruin too much of you. I mean, but you get the gist of it. So yeah, I mean, does it fit into the Star Trek timeline? Yeah, I think it does.
I have no issues with it. I think it is basically just like you say, more Star Trek, and I have no issues with it. And the episodes are shorter as well. They're obviously being a cartoon and stuff, but they're just as good. They're just as well written and voiced.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it, like you said, just it is more Star Trek, and for me, yeah, it is canon. It's basically just season 4
Yeah.
and 5 of the original series, but in cartoon. So.
And again, as I said, you get to see things that we didn't see, like for instance, like you will be seeing soon, or Commodore Robert April as well. So there we are. Something you can look forward to. So, anything else on the animated you want to say?
Not really, no.
Oh, okay, cool. So yeah, animated series. You haven't seen it? Go and watch it. Check it out.
Go and watch. Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do now, ladies and gentlemen, we've come to time now, actually. It turns out me and Dan can talk so much about Star Trek, but we're halfway there. If we just have a quick look at the timeline, actually, as well, Dan, so we can just have a look. So
a little recap of what we've done so far.
Exactly. So obviously we've done Enterprise, we've done Discovery in the original series, then the animated series. So we're now going to go into, of course, TNG, Deep Space Nine, and Voyager, and eventually then, of course, Picard in the next episode. Okay, so this is going to be part 1. I'm moving on to the next episode. So the next 3 series we'll talk about, I personally call them, I don't know what you do, I always call them the sort of the golden era of Star Trek.
Absolutely, the golden era. I think those 3 are what people would associate most with Star Trek, or what Star Trek was. So
definitely.
Looking forward to discussing those.
Oh, definitely. So what we'll do, we're going to have that for next week, I think, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, everyone who's listening out there on this episode. Because me and Dan, turns out, we just can't shut up talking about Star Trek, which, it's a good thing, really. I think we had too much planned for this episode, but, oh, well, it's got into 2 episodes. Why not?
Oh, well, yeah.
Right, and so again, please carry on watching us or listening to us. Remember, of course, all different streaming platforms out there that you can listen to us on, especially Spotify and Google Podcasts as well. But from me, Matt, and the lovely Dan, we say for now, live long and
prosper.